And then then for us, the next phase was taking, some of the money that we made and using it to finance and support other organizations in the marine world. So we made donations to the Shark Trust. We did designs with sharks on and gave proceeds from the sales of those designs to the Shark Trust. We helped to finance the movie A Plastic Ocean, which was recently going around on Netflix. We equipped the people making the film, but also actually raised some money to help them to make the film. And environmental projects of this sort of nature have always been kind of part of how we could give back, but also how we built the identity going forward. And then in 2016, it was we were told by a friend of mine that she'd come back from a diving conference in Poland, where these Dutch guys had stood up on the stage and talked about ghost fishing and removing ghost gear from the sea, and crucially that there was actually a mechanism by which that was being recycled into something that we could use. So and a light bulb went off for us, as for both of us, pretty much simultaneously, of like, well, if this is a product that is being taken off wrecks and reef where it's destroyed, either it's trapping and killing wildlife, or it's scouring reef, or it's endangering divers. If somebody is actually going out there and divers are pulling this out of the ocean, it's being recycled. We as divers, if we can use this to make something else for divers, then it just makes perfect sense. And it was at that point where we then we did the research, and I think one of the touchstones of us as a team here is that if we don't know how to do something, we just research and research and research and research. And perhaps that's the former school teachers, sort of coming through there. We don't know something, so you've got to teach yourself before you can teach the kids. But perhaps that was it. But you've got to get that knowledge before you can do it. So we researched it, and eventually we came up with our first swimwear line made from this ghost gear, made from this recycled nylon from fishing nets. I mean, there's other stuff in there too. There's recycled carpet that goes into the mix to make these threads. But it's approximately 50% of the recycled material is net taken out of the sea, and that for us was this start of a different journey for us as a brand. And that's the stuff that now still keeps us getting out of bed, because with each event, each thing that we find out about, each product that we realize that we can make better or differently, we get closer and closer to the ultimate goal for us as a company, which is to be better custodians of the ocean, better citizens of the ocean. And when we met at ADEX, certainly the first time we met at ADEX, I think it was in front of that big wall with Ocean Positive on it. I'm pretty sure that's where we sat down and chatted in front of that wall. And that, at the time, people were coming up to me and saying, well, what's Ocean Positive all about? What is this? And it was quite interesting to see. I don't know if you guys have experienced as well. Some people get it and some people don't.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And to be honest with you, that's the part of, I mean, like Andy was saying, like you can create a brand and then you can kind of get pigeonholed into what that brand represents. And I think the really the inspiring thing from you guys is that you went this different pathway that was groundbreaking stuff, really, especially in our industry, and you took it and you ran with it, and everybody's on the environmental conservation sort of bandwagon, and that's great, and that's our responsibility as divers, as humans, basically, to look after our oceans and look after our environment. And you guys really, you don't just talk the talk, but you walk the walk with it, right? And you get yourselves involved in these conservation projects, and we can talk about sort of a little bit about the future of all of that and where all that's going to sort of stem. And as you say, it's what gets you out of bed, right? It's the thing that drives you, and you go, I want to do more, and I want to engage more with all of this. And I find that really inspiring, because especially the Ocean Positive, the swimwear stuff. I mean, it was cool. It looked great, and it was also environmentally friendly. It was a good thing, and you've since taken that, and now you're packaging everything that your hoodies don't come in a package, right? It's right. Because what's the point? It doesn't need to. It's just wastage. Or you've got your paper bags,
no plastic. Yes.
No plastic materials, all your cardboard boxes and that. And you really, you're living what you're actually, you've developed your brand around that ideal, the idea of that, and your sort of mission statement, and you sort of, that's what you're going for.
But I think also it comes from the point that you like the environment. You see the problems firsthand. I mean, we see it in Hong Kong. We see in Hong Kong all the trash in the ocean, all the ghost nets, I mean, it's just bad. You dive around and you just see trash, and we have cleanup days, and we have ghost nets diving days, and you clean up, and they come back and come back and come back. It's a never-ending story, and there's a lot of people in Hong Kong, fortunately, that actually took this to their hearts and do a lot of good work in cleaning up. But it's endless. It's a never-ending thing.
Yeah. But it's totally you between the two of you, you've hit the nail on the head. That I think, Andrew, when you said, we as humans, we have this responsibility to respond to this, and there's an existential threat on humans somewhere down the track, of course, and getting ever closer and more important. But and Andy, you're basically talking about the fact that our behavior really isn't changing.
No,
and
that's the problem. Correct.
But but here we are, this kind of, as I said earlier, this kind of special group of people that, scuba divers, we identify ourselves in this very, very privileged, very select group of humans, privileged in the sense that we've been able to go under and see this. But also then now there's a responsibility. There is a real, there's an imperative, a social imperative on any scuba diver who goes diving and doesn't actually talk about the problem, because we're the ones who've seen it. We're the ones who, you've seen this on these cleanup dives. You do a cleanup dive and you go back a few days later and there's still an issue, and it's still happening. And we, the reason we go diving is, the reason to go diving is under threat. The reason to, and so it's not just this kind of, for want of a better word, tree huggy sort of attitude. This is about protecting the thing that we really enjoy doing. It isn't just, but on every level, it's important. And that's exactly where it, that whole thing, that as you said, this journey from the swimwear through to, the packaging. When we first made the first batch of swimwear, we got them in plastic bags, and we just literally looked at each other and we're like, well, that's a complete fail, isn't it? That is total failure. We have just, and so immediately we said, right, well, we have to change the packaging. And of course, then you look from one shelf, which is all nicely stacked with, cardboard boxes and paper bag packaging, at the other shelf over, and we've got a whole bunch of things in plastic, and go, well, that's got to change. That's no longer acceptable. And then you look around the whole company and realize that, there's this, so many points where we haven't engaged with our own impact in terms of our impact on the planet. And we're not perfect, crikey, we are far from perfect, but we're trying to go in the right direction, and we are making iterative changes all the time. And in fact, this week we've been having our kind of powwow meeting of what are our objectives for the next 5 to 10 years, and thinking about how will we take what began as this project and became the Mission 2020 initiative, to get rid of single-use plastic packaging. What does it become next? We're still in that journey of constantly sort of re-examining what our impact can be. Can we become not just plastic neutral, but can we actually somehow achieve a net reduction of plastic by taking plastic waste and turning it into a product, and not packaging it in further plastic? Or are there even bigger problems like climate change that we also ought to be addressing our impact on those things as well? But at the same time, not losing sight of the fact that greatest will in the world, all human activity isn't really sustainable. You just got to, so, and that we are a business and we do make products, and our objective is to make great products to go scuba diving in. But once we've done that, once we've made a better product, we can also be better about making it and be a better company.